One girl's father died, and her mother was very poor, didn't work, and didn't have a job. She could, and they had to sell the apartment. They went to my grandmother's old house in the village, where my grandmother had been dead for 2 years, and no one lived there. But it was decent, because a neighbor cleaned it for money. And the girl and her mother began to live there. The girl had a long way to go to school, and she was given such a certificate that she studied at home, and only goes to the end of the quarter to take all sorts of exams and tests at school in the district center. So they sat at home all day with her mother, only sometimes went to the store, also to the district center. And my mother was pregnant, it took a long time to grow, and it grew twice as big as usual, so long the child was not born. Then mom left, seems to be in the store in the winter, and it was not nearly a week. The girl got all nervous, scared her at home alone, the windows black, electricity outages, snowdrifts on the windows piled up. The food ran out, but her neighbor fed her. And then, late in the evening, or at night, there was a knock on the door and my mother's voice called out to the girl. The girl opened it, and her mother came in. She was pale, with blue circles around her eyes, thin and tired. She had given birth to a child and was holding it in her arms, wrapped in some kind of peeling skin, maybe even a dog's. The girl closed the door quickly, put the child on the table, and began to undress her mother. She was very cold, she was all ice. In the iron stove, the girl built a fire. Near this stove they warmed themselves in the evenings, and sat her mother in an old chair, and then opened it on the sly, and there is such a child that it is immediately clear that it is not a newborn or even a baby. There's another girl, maybe 3 or 4 years old, with a small, angry face and no arms or legs. "Oh, mother, who is it? What is it?" the girl asked, and her mother said, "All babies are ugly at first. When she's older, she'll be all right. Give it here." She took the baby in her arms and began to breastfeed. And the girl sucks her breasts as if nothing had happened, and looks at the first girl with a sly and malicious look. And their names were Nastya and Olya. Olya is the one with no arms and no legs. And Olya, this already itself perfectly ran and jumped, that is, very quickly crawled, on its stomach. And she jumped on it, and she was able, like a caterpillar, to put herself upright and with her teeth, for example, to grab something. There was no escape from it. She tipped everything over, chewed, and ruined everything, and my mother told Nastya to clean up after her, because Nastya was the eldest, and also because my mother was now always ill. She was sick and even slept strangely, with her eyes open, as if she had just fainted. Nastya cooked for herself now, and ate separately from her mother, because her mother had some kind of own diet for nursing mothers. Life has become absolutely disgusting. If she didn't eat and didn't pick up after Kostika Olga, the mother sent her for firewood, or to do homework, and Nastya the whole day and the whole evening was decided and solved problems and wrote exercises and taught all physics to recount all without Mom almost did nothing, all fed. Olya arrested between feedings, because the nursing woman is very tired, and everything was on the paste, and Olya washed too, and Olya wriggled and laughed nastily. Then it was still a pleasure to wash her from poop. But Nastya endured everything for her mother's sake. So a month or 2 passed, and the winter only got colder, and everything was covered with snowdrifts, and the lamps that hung in the rooms without chandeliers were always flickering and were very dim. When suddenly Nastya began to notice that someone was coming up to her at night and breathing over her face. She first thought it was Mom like before, looks good if she is sleeping, and slid off the bed, and then looked through my lashes, and that Olga is standing upright by the bed and looks at her, and smiling. Then Olya noticed that Nastya was looking and said in a nasty voice, "Who told you to watch when you shouldn't? Now I'm going to bite your fingers off. Only finger overnight. Then I'll eat my hands. And so I will grow my own hands. And she immediately bit off the little finger on Nastya's hand, and blood poured out. Nastya lay as if in a daze, but she jumped up from the pain and screamed. And Mom is still asleep, and she laughs and jumps. All right, Nastya said. There's nothing I can do about you. And lay down, as if to sleep. She even fell asleep. And in the morning Olya pooed again, and my mother told Nastya to wash her. Well, even firewood was in the house, because the woodpile was already from for snowdrifts to reach the well is also fine for the bath full of water right out of the snow. Bucket snow was scooped up. The wound from the bitten off finger was very painful, but Nastya did not tell her mother anything. She took Olya and began to bathe her in the children's bath, which they found in the attic when they moved. Olya, as always, squirms and giggles, and Nastya began to drown her. Then Olya broke up, fought terribly, bit Nastya on all her hands, but Nastya drowned her anyway, and she stopped breathing, and then Nastya put her on the table and saw that her mother was still looking at the stove and did not notice anything. And then Nastya lost consciousness, because a lot of blood was leaking from the bites. During the night, the house was covered with snow so that the neighbor was afraid and called rescuers. They came and dug up the house, and found inside a girl in a faint, with bitten hands, a dead woman mummified and a wooden doll without arms and legs. Nastya was then sent to an orphanage for the deaf and dumb. She was actually mute, talking to her mother with her hands.